Hey there! I just got back from New York City where I was attending the Build Expo that was put on by B&H Photo. Huge thanks to B&H for such a cool event and also for lending me these two lenses to test out and review. Now I've been curious about the fairly new Canon RF mount VCM lenses since they came out, and I know a lot of you out there were asking me to review them as well, so happy to oblige. I brought these two lenses with me to New York City to capture a bunch of footage around the city, but not during the convention, but going out with friends and colleagues to capture some images in the day and also at night. And I really enjoyed shooting with these lenses, and overall I was just really impressed with the image quality. Everything in terms of the colors and the contrast and sharpness were just fantastic, no complaints. Even the flaring was just really well controlled and also really pretty. Now it's been a long time since I was in New York City. It's been over 20 years. I did spend a lot of time there after college, but because of where I live and life circumstances, I haven't been able to go back and visit. So it was really fun to go out and shoot and capture images and do things like take the subway and eat a lot of pizza. And one of the highlights for us in the city was definitely the rooftop at our hotel. We did a lot of hanging out there, but also a lot of shooting. There was a lot of different lighting conditions between golden hour and blue hour, and the weather was constantly changing. We did have a lot of rainy days, and we did enjoy the time up there, and the Empire State Building always looks absolutely amazing, and we did have to dodge quite a few raindrops as well. We also definitely spent some time out shooting at night, and we went to Times Square, which is of course a classic place to go out and film. Lots of cool lights, a lot of people. And like I said, I just really enjoyed the image quality out of these lenses, like the colors, and it's just a really pleasing and nice image. And on top of that, the autofocus areas, the bokeh, look awesome. Really smooth, really nice, love it. Now, usually when I travel, I use a 24-70. Actually, that's what I use when I shoot most things. I'm a zoom guy for the most part, but if I am going to take prime lenses when I travel, I usually like a 28mm and a 50mm on full frame, but Canon doesn't have a 28 in this style lens yet. I hope they do. So 24 and 50 also work really well for me, and when I do shoot with those kinds of lenses, prime lenses, I have to get a little bit more creative. But I really enjoyed the compact nature of these versus a large 2.8 zoom. The handling was awesome, and it's a great place to, have a smaller kit when you're in a city too. The smaller cameras is a lot more enjoyable. So this is not going to be a super technical review, but I want to talk about build quality and cost and a few other things. So hopefully you enjoyed the sample footage. All of that was shot on my Canon R5 Mark II and XF-AVC in C-Log 2. Most of it was shot in the 4K fine mode in 24 frames per second. I think there was a couple of clips in 4K 60. Like I said earlier on, I really like the image out of these lenses. I didn't do any technical testing, but they're very pleasing and very sharp, and the colors are fantastic, and I think they match really well with the R5 II and the other Canon mirrorless cameras. Like I said, I thought the bokeh was super nice too, and just overall a really pleasing image. The flaring was very well controlled with minimal veiling flare, and the ghosting flare that I did see I also really liked. So now let's take a look at the build quality and features of these two lenses. So as you know, I have the 24 and 50, and as you can see here, they look pretty much identical in terms of their size and design, which is absolutely fantastic. When you're looking for prime lenses, if the lenses are all very similar, then it's really nice to be able to swap them in and out on a gimbal and those sorts of things. And in terms of the weight, I think they're also really similar. And overall, I really do like the weight of these lenses. They are not too heavy and or not too light. They feel just about right for what they are and the size of them. No complaints there. So we'll take a look at the 24 because these are so similar. And overall, in terms of the build quality here, just what you'd expect from a Canon RF-L lens. Very similar to the other lenses in their lineup. It has this plasticky shell on the outside to keep down the weight a little bit, but they are pretty durable in my experience. So let's take a look at this lens here. At the front, we have a 67mm filter thread, which is, I think, perfect for this lens size and type. 67 is fairly common, and it works really well. In terms of the control rings and everything else on the lens, we have the programmable control ring up here, which you can set with the camera. We have the focus ring here, which is really well dampened and just pretty close to perfect in my mind for a focus by wire lens. And then we also have an aperture control here, which personally I don't really use. I always leave it locked on A and then use the camera to control the aperture. But if you'd like to, you can come over here and press this little switch here and unlock it. And then you can manually change the aperture or iris. And it is declicked, so if you want to do a smooth aperture rack or aperture pull, you can do that here. But if you don't want to, you can just push this and get it locked in and it just works like any other lens. We also have an autofocus manual focus switch and a programmable button. And on the back here, we do have a metal mount and a weather sealing gasket. And of course, we have the usual design here for the Canon lenses, so it matches the body really well. In terms of close focus with these two lenses, I didn't have any issues myself, but the 24mm is 0.24 meters or 0.79 feet, and the 50mm is 0.4 meters or 1.31 feet. So it may or may not be okay for you depending on what you shoot, but around New York City for that shooting I was doing, I didn't have any issues. So let me get this mounted on the camera so I can show you, because like I said, I do think it is really nice on the Canon mirrorless cameras. So here I am mounting this on my R5 II, and as you can see, it is a really nice size, and I think the handling is just fantastic, and the design and everything, like I said, just works out really, really well. So one other thing I want to point out is this base plate that's on here, in case some of you are curious. I've been buying these recently from a company called Kirk Photo. I have no affiliation with them. I bought this with my own money. They are on the pricier side, but I love the build quality, and this is Arca Swiss on the bottom. And the coolest feature about these is they have these little pins that stick up that sit into the bottom of the camera, so it doesn't twist. So if you're putting this on a tripod or a gimbal or something like that, you don't have to put a cage on it. It's really sturdy and just really well made. I really like these. I've been buying these for a few cameras. I'll leave a link for this in the description below, along with the links for the lenses if you're looking to pick those up. So like I said, this is not a super technical review, but in terms of autofocus, I didn't really test it very much because generally I use manual focus when I'm doing street video because it's just what I prefer and what I'm used to, and I just like the way it works when I'm doing street video. But when I did test out the autofocus, I didn't do it a lot, but it did seem on par with the other Canon RFL lenses that I've tried in the past. So there really shouldn't be any surprises there. It kind of performs natively like you'd expect on these Canon mirrorless cameras. So let's get on to the cost, recommendations, and conclusions. So unfortunately, the price of Canon stuff just went up, like just prior to recording this video. The 24mm lens is coming in at $1,600 and the 50 is coming in at $1,500. There's also a 35mm lens for $1,600 and a 20mm lens just came out for $1,800. Now, that's a lot of money for these lenses, but I think it's on par, especially with the price increases for F1.4 Canon L series lenses, and these are cheaper than the F1.2 lenses that are out there. So I think if you're looking for native L series primes for Canon, I think these are a great bet. I also do like the 50 is much smaller than the 51.2. They also focus quiet, and the autofocus is definitely smoother than the 51.2. I've never used the 85. In terms of other lenses, I really hope that they come out with an 85. I'm surprised they didn't already. I feel like that would be the next obvious thing. I also think it'd be smart to make a wider lens like a 14 or a 16. That would be cool. And of course, personally, I'd love to see a 28. Anyways, I really enjoyed using these lenses. I'm sad to send them back, but I just wanted to share my thoughts and experience and, image quality and all that kind of stuff with all of you. So thanks so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.